Okay, you can go on.
So, if you can just state your name
Yeah.
and which year
Yeah.
or years you were in Palestine,
Yeah.
and where were you stationed?
Yeah.
If it was one place or more,
Two actually. Yeah.
and what were you doing? What were you in charge of, or what were you doing
Yeah.
at that time?
Yeah.
And then the next question would be, what was the most profound experience, memory that you take from there, or any thoughts, or
Yeah.
anything you would like to say?
Okay. Fine. So you're going 1, 2, 3, go, or?
Yes, go.
Yeah. Do you want me to start now?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Tony Costello. I am now 89 and will be 90 in November. In 1947, we had national service. Every person had to go into one of the forces. I went into the army and into the parachute regiment. And after doing all my training, I'm waving people away. After doing all my training, I was posted to Palestine. We went from Liverpool to Egypt by troop ship, and then we went from Egypt to Haifa. When we got to Haifa, we were separated into different battalions, and I went to the 3rd Battalion, which at that time was based at Nahariya in the north. And I was described as clerk general duties, which is basically what I did. We paid the labourers, we kept personnel records, all that, the sort of thing that one does. Because so many wartime soldiers were being demobbed, there became a shortage of manpower. So the 2nd Battalion, which was based in Haifa, at Peninsula Barracks, we went down from Nahariya, closed the Nahariya camp, went down to Haifa, to the Peninsula Barracks at Bat Galim. Now the Peninsula Barracks was a barracks, proper barracks, built after the war, after the First World War, when we took it from the Turkish Ottoman Empire. And I continued being a clerk general duties, but because of the shortage of manpower, I was often called on to do other things, like sentries and things like that. Now, on one particular night, I remember, 4 o'clock in the morning, I walked out from the guard room and I saw this most beautiful moon. I've never seen a moon like it. Now, I've since found out that this was a very rare event. It happened in the 1970s and happened recently, about 2 or 3 years ago. But I thought that was a Palestinian moon, and it was always like that. And it wasn't until years later I found out that that wasn't the case. Another event was that I had my 19th birthday going back while still in Nahariya. And on that night, an immigrant ship ran itself aground off Nahariya, and our rifle companies had to go down and help to get the Jewish immigrants off the ship onto the shore, where many of them were squirreled away into it.
When was this?
That was in November 1947.
Do you remember the name of the ship?
No, not that one, no. And so that was one of the events, but I remember particularly because it happened on my birthday, and I was saying, where's everybody? I want to buy them a drink.
What's the exact day? I can check. What is the exact day of your birthday?
The 16th of November,
16th of November.
1928. Okay. Yeah. So, also while we were in Nahariya, Princess Elizabeth married Prince Philip. And I can remember sitting in the sunshine, listening to the World Service of the BBC, broadcasting it. And as a special treat, we were each given 2 cans of beer. And it was from Gold Star breweries of Bat Yam, I think, yeah, which we thoroughly enjoyed. You asked for memorable events.
Yeah.
I was brought up as a Roman Catholic. Christmas Eve, 1947, I actually went to the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem to midnight mass. We drove down from Haifa in an army lorry, and we left the lorry in a safe car park. We left our weapons with the Palestine police because it wasn't done to go armed into a church. And it was the most moving experience for me as a Roman Catholic. Consequently, when we drove back, it was through the night. We got back to the camp, a Peninsula Barracks, and you could see Mount Carmel on one side, you could see the Golan Heights on the other, and it was right on the bay. And I was so cold and tired that I went to bed on Christmas Day. I missed the Christmas Day dinner, but in the evening there was a nice buffet. That was one particular thing I remember was going. And now I think I will tell you a story which one of our people in the camp used to play a ukulele, 4-string banjo. And because of me being a clerk, I frequently went into Haifa with documents and things. The Kingsway was the main street in Haifa in those days. And this chap who played the ukulele, he said to me, "I need some strings for my ukulele. When you're in Haifa, could you get me some?" So I said, "Well, I'll see." Anyway, I saw a music shop, and we always travelled in four. There were four of us in a jeep. And I said to these chaps, "I'm going in that music shop." And I could not bring myself to take a weapon into a music shop. It just went against all my principles of civilized behaviour. So I put my weapon with my friends in the jeep, and I walked into the music shop. When I opened the door, there was a young lady and an elderly gentleman, and to tell you the truth, they were scared.
You were scared.
They were scared.
They were scared.
I was a paratrooper. I had the beret and everything. And I walked in and I said, "Shalom." And they said, "Shalom." And I said, "Do you speak English?" And they said, "German." So I had this piece of paper with the thing on. I put them in front of her and said, "Haben Sie dies bitte?" Because I speak a little. And she smiled. And you could feel the tension disappear. We were musical people. We appreciated each other. And she got them out, and the old man nodded. And we had a little chat about Mozart and this. And then I took them and I paid her, because we used the same currency, the Palestine pound. And I said, "Wiedersehen, Shalom," and walked out. And I'll never forget that.
Never forget.
For a few minutes, those two people were terrified. We had such a bad reputation. And I'd done a little bit to ease that. Those are things I remember. And then I went back and I gave these to my friend who played the ukulele. And he used to play the ukulele, and everybody used to buy him pints of beer, and it was a happy time.
Did you yourself have any moments where you were terrified?
Not terrified, we were always tense and on our guard. Mm-hmm. When we went down Kingsway, it's probably still the same. There were great big blocks of tenement houses with balconies. Beautiful city, Haifa. And you'd see a lady, a woman, hanging washing up. And you'd think, is she really hanging washing up? Or is she letting somebody know that British soldiers? That's the state of mind that we were in. And then, of course, it became widely known that we were leaving anyway.
So when was this for you?
Well, I didn't get out there till October, you see. And it was in the November that things got really bad, because
November which year?
November 47, because a partition arrangement had been put before the Jewish and the Arab people, and both rejected it. And Ernest Bevin was the former Foreign Secretary, and he said, we are definitely leaving now. We are not having this minding these two, the Arab and the Jew. We're definitely leaving. And on April the 16th...
So was this...
this was declared...
Following any specific event?
Oh yes, there were two events, yes. The blowing up of the King David Hotel. We were still in England when that happened.
Yeah.
The hanging of the two sergeants. We were still in England when that happened. But we knew we were going out to a tense situation. One thing I do remember about being in Haifa, while I was there was a big meeting of top people from all the Middle East in one of the big houses on Mount Carmel. I think King Faisal was there. I think, well, they were very important people, and we had to put a guard around the house. Mm-hmm. And we would put a guard all around the house, and we were sort of with arm's length from our colleagues. And we were told nobody will approach apart from at the house. If anybody comes from any other direction, you must challenge and shoot, because they were frightened of some interference, shall we say.
Yeah.
I remember that particularly.
So you were stationed there?
I was on that group, yeah. And then after they declared we were leaving, we then withdrew into the camp. And it was a proper army camp. It had a sports ground, it had a cinema, it had a canteen. The only thing we couldn't do was go swimming in the sea, because they'd put a barbed wire minefield across to stop anybody coming in. So when we heard...
Sorry, was this done especially for this event on top?
Oh no,
it was a general thing?
General, because the camp previously, when it was open, they could bathe in the sea, but when they realised it was a possible chance of somebody getting in, then they stopped it. So what happened then was, we would hear firing in the night. We'd hear machine guns, bombs and things. Now normally, one of our rifle companies would go and see what was happening. And the attitude came, well, if they want to kill themselves, let them. We just totally disassociated ourselves. And then in April 1948, our battalion went down to the docks in Haifa. We boarded a troop ship called the Empress of Australia, and we sailed in the late afternoon from Haifa. And I particularly remember, as we left, and had no more influence at all, Haifa seemed to explode. Fire, bombs, smoke, everything. And we were even sniped at from a block of flats. But they were so far away that the bullets were just plopping in the water. There was no velocity. Plus the fact that a Royal Navy ship, HMS Phoebe, turned a massive big naval searchlight on the block of flats, so that the snipers were virtually blinded. And then we sailed out into the Mediterranean, headed for home, and we sat on the deck listening to the FA Cup being played on the Saturday.
How did you feel?
Relieved.
Relieved.
And sad, because some of my friends were still there. They were buried in Kayat Beach Cemetery or Ramla Cemetery. More of my friends were in Kayat Beach, because that was the area where we were. Ramla was more in the south, as you know. And the Kayats were a big family in that area, Bat Galim and that. I think they had transport as well. But it was an experience of an 18-year-old boy, really, and that's what I was, an 18-year-old boy. And in the years to come, I've become a student of the area. I've read about Lawrence of Arabia, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, which again is typical arrogance of just drawing lines on a map, which they did the same in India, they did the same in Cyprus,
Yes.
with absolutely no regard for the inhabitants of those countries. And so I joined the Palestine Veterans Association to keep alive our memories of our friends who died. I bear no ill will to anyone, never have done. There were Jewish commandos in the British Army. There was a Jewish brigade. I had a friend called Solly Bermage who was in the Royal Defence. You can't get much more Jewish than Solly Bermage. But when he was in the army, he had to anglicise his name in case he got captured, of course.
I see.
When I see a Wagon David on a grave, I put a stone on it. It's your tradition. I have bear no animosity. I was doing a good job. You were doing a good job. There were some people who went beyond the bounds of decency, but I'd rather not talk about them.
Were you in situations, did you find yourself in situations where there was a question as to how you should respond, or whether it was with Arabs or Jews or
We had contact with the Arabs insofar as they were the labour force in the camp. They kept the camp clean. They did the dobying and that. When I was a clerk, we used to pay the Arabs, and they used to come and they used to use a thumbprint when they claimed their money. Mm-hmm. And one of my jobs was to sit beside the officer paying out and check the man's thumbprint against the records. After I'd done that for a week or two, I began to know that that man was who was who. And if I didn't recognise him, then so we knew a lot of the Arabs. As regards meeting Jewish people, apart from the ones I mentioned in the shop, just outside the camp there was what they called a drugstore in those days. And you could go there and you could get magazines and books. And one of the things we used to like doing was you could buy nylon stockings, and you would fold a nylon stocking, put it in an envelope, pull another one, put it in another envelope, post them to your girlfriend back in England where they couldn't get nylon stockings.
Can you tell me about your girlfriend in England?
Pardon?
Can you tell me about her? Did you have a girlfriend?
I wrote regularly to a girlfriend, and I wrote regularly to my family. Unfortunately, in moving from house to house, most of those letters are destroyed.
I see. So she didn't get any?
Oh yeah, she got the letters, but they were destroyed afterwards. Mm-hmm. In 1949, things happened in my life which I don't wish to discuss really personally.
Yes.
But it was a bit of a anticlimax.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So
Did you used to write a diary, or?
Well, that was the point of it. I thought the letters would have been useful because I never told her what we were actually doing military-wise, but I told her that story about the beautiful moon. Yes. I told her about going to Bethlehem, and there was also a beautiful scent in the air was there all the time. It's a beautiful country. Yes. And of course, when we were in Naharia, a lot of this where we were was marshland. And now you've converted it and you're growing avocados and asparagus. And
yes.
We had a respect for the fact that you were doing something with the land, whereas the Arab tended to graze and then move on.
Yes. Did you make any drawings or anything? Did you paintings or?
Oh no. Yeah, I did have a few photographs of friends, you know.
So you have photographs still?
Just of myself, and I do have one photograph where I'm with some Arabs, because while we were out there, we went to El Akia, and we did 3 parachute jumps. And you looked out of the aeroplane and all you saw was a vast desert with one little British Army truck. And as soon as you hit the ground, out of nowhere, these Arabs came with baskets of peanuts, Coca-Cola, oranges, hard-boiled
And
eggs.
sold it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, there's nothing nicer after you've done a parachute jump than to have a bottle of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And what they used to do, they would come out from some village and hide, keep in the shade of the army truck and wait for us to jump. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to be as open as this with you, but I'm glad I am.
I am so delighted
Yeah.
and grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I wonder whether there's any way in which we can use some of the photos and put them together.
I have a card. It's in your car, Chris. I'll get
I
it
gave
there.
him
Okay.
my card also.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you can email.
I will email them. Email them
with
to you.
anything or pictures of letters or postcards.
Yeah, I do have photographs, but they're mainly me and my colleagues. And there's this one, as I say, with these Arabs.
Yeah.
But only 5 or 6 of them. But I'll
Is
give,
there anything else that maybe upset you or
not really.
not really?
I mean, there's a famous saying, isn't there? The past is a different country. They do things differently there.
It's true.
And that was true.
Yeah.
I was 18. It was an adventure.
How did this experience affect your life afterwards? Was there any?
Not really. I came back home and I was in the shipping business, and I stayed in the shipping business, and I never joined any associations or anything. I was too busy earning a living, you know. Well, it didn't affect me, but some years ago I heard that they were forming a Palestine Veterans Association, Nick Hill, and I went to that. And we meet twice a year, and as you know, this is probably our last.
Yeah. Excuse me, just a second.
צריך לתפוס עוד אנשים.
אנשים?
לא מרואיינים.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Shalom. I don't know how to say.
Just a minute.
Shalom is good.
Oh, just so, I want to say goodbye or good luck. Shalom.
Shalom is inclusive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can
very,
also say salam alaikum.
That's also good. That's also good.
I'm a shugana.
I'm a Shugana, me. I'm a Shugana.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Thanks.
I'm pleased that I had mixed feelings, but
Yeah.
I think everything's been very.
Just a minute. I want to ask a special question about. That's all right. Just a minute. About the surgeon affair, the 2 surgeons that hanged on Natania.
Sergeant.
The sergeant.
Oh, yeah.
2 sergeants.
Oh yeah.
You see, is that event? How much is its effect on the British thinking or British government?
It not only affected the British, it affected Jewish. The British Jewish people were horrified that had happened. And we were all horrified that it had happened. But this is the fact that soldiers are pawns of the politicians. And I can't say any
Yeah.
more than that. But it was a horrific
Horrific.
event.
Yeah.
And there will be a wreath laid today by a member of the Intelligence Corps in memory of that event. Yeah.
Did you know that one of them was a Jew?
Yes.
You know that?
Are you recording this?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I did know that.
How do you know? Clifford Martin was his name.
Martin and Pierce are the names.
Yeah. What you know about that?
Well, I wasn't really going to talk about this, but I will.
Why?
They broke the rules. They were never supposed to go anywhere except in 4s. They went out in a pair. They went to the same place every time.
They cooperate with the Haganah.
That's said.
There was
Yeah.
a kind of a double engine.
And as I say, had they gone out as a 4, it mightn't have happened.
Did you know on those days that one of them was Jew?
Yes, his mother apparently, and if you're born of a Jewish
Yeah.
lady, yeah.
But on the grave there is a cross.
Yeah, no.
why.
Generally, the British Commonwealth War Graves Commission don't put religious symbols on the grave. It's a plain stone with a rounded top. The family, if anything else is included on a grave, the family have had it put there.
Yeah.
The Civil War, the Commonwealth Graves Committee put your number, rank, name, and your regiment. Nothing else.
I see. So what you know about what was happened? Because we know that they are cooperate with the Haganah. So they're.
Well, that's said. I'm an ordinary soldier. I didn't know that. They probably
didn't know. But when they catch, it was the feeling that it was unresponsible for them to go out in Friday night to Netanya and just to walk out, because it was the very tension days.
Yeah.
Yeah. What bother you in that story?
It's something I wasn't involved in. You see, it all happened while I was still in England.
It's in July.
I didn't go till October. I was still in England when that happened.
You came only in October 47?
47, yeah.
Why?
Because
it's so late.
Because when I joined the parachute regiment in February 47, you have a long period of training before you do your 8 jumps. And then when you do your 8 jumps, you're qualified to wear the parachute wings. And then you just sort of wait. And because you went out in a troop ship, nowadays, if it's a small party, they fly them out. In those days, you went out in a troop ship. So they had to wait until they had enough troops from various RAF and that to make it worthwhile using a troop ship.
Yeah.
So we were just kept on to what they call general duties. And of course, when we sailed we didn't immediately land in Palestine, we landed in Port Said. We came down by train to Suez.
To Suez.
And there was a cholera epidemic. And because there was a cholera epidemic in Egypt, there was no movement of troops, so they didn't want to spread the epidemic. So we spent nearly 2 weeks just sitting in Egypt waiting to go until the cholera was cleared. So really, I could have been there in September.
Yeah.
But because of that delay, I didn't get there till October.
October 47, that's the days of the Exodus. About the Exodus, the ship, the big ship.
Oh yes,
Exodus.
yeah.
It was the big famous story on those days. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Well, of course, our battalion, from our rifle battalions, they used to go down and take the people from the immigrant ships and put them on the ships. Now, one thing that was annoying was the American newsreel services. They were really they were doing it, but you couldn't do anything without being classed as. If I spoke to a Jewish person, it would appear on newsreel as I was being rude to them. If a soldier on the quayside with railway lines and all sorts of things, if a soldier helped an elderly Jewish lady to negotiate that, he would be put down as violating her, you know.
Yeah.
The American newsreels were they were more than pro-Jewish, they would bend the truth, make us look more evil.
Yeah.
Or look evil.
You guys, you have a very difficult jobs in Palestine. But I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you in the name of all the Jewish people.
Yeah.
Because in the end of the day, we are 2 countries today with good relationships.
Yeah.
And it's the past, it's the history, and you can show the rest of the world that could be peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So we will be in touch. I will send you a copy of that.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That'll be lovely.
And I will put it as a part of the project of Toldot Israel.
Yeah.
And maybe we can make a bigger interview with Narada will be touch with you, okay?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And I've got some cards in my car. I'll give you one of my cards as well.
Let me just take it off. Yeah.
I thought